Grass touchers and hippie caricatures, this is internet personality Vangelus, and it only took me until the very last weeks of 2025 to finally get a hold of Transformers Generations Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Beachcomber and Paradise Parakeet, a staggeringly vaporware action figure release from a couple years prior, who thankfully got a rerun only a couple years later. In the oeuvre of modern deluxe minibots, Legavo Beachcomber goes for a cartoon-leaning approach that is inherently toyetic because, well, that is just gonna happen when you build around the aesthetics you see before you. He's well-proportioned and blocky, short but not squat, and rocking a solid contrast of deep blue and medium gray with plenty of front-of-torso paintwork for spice. For the most part, I think he turned out great in bot mode, as much as it can sometimes be really, really hard to see his mouth. His main accessory is the common sidearm of a well-meaning peace lover, a machine gun made out of a front bumper. It's simple, it's got an extra side peg for more mounting options, and it's made of gray plastic, which means it is coated in a glossy slather of black paint. Also included is the headlining bonus figure Paradise Parakeet, who is made entirely out of a rubberized PVC and features a 5mm peg with a 3mm hole in the bottom, allowing for universal EVO Fusion mounting across the gamut of the modern Transformers era. On Beachcomber, this primarily means the Parakeet can go on a forearm or a shoulder. In any case, don't leave the parakeet attached to anything for more than a couple of days. Yes, the phrase plasticizer seepage is going to come up a few times today. There's a ball socket neck joint, but it really doesn't do much. There's just average, ignorable wiggle, and it can move that and that. It can literally only move that, and then because of the cheek plates, he can't move any farther. Why would he need to move farther? Because these things would be in the way anyway. Listen, I'm not here to give you answers, I'm simply here to ask the question. Due to the big rubbery thingamies, he can only T-pose about that far before, the squish begins. Unfortunate. But there's a bicep swivel, there's a decently deep, like 95-degree elbow hinge. His wrists can swivel for some reason, which is funny, because they're buried in here, so it's not like hard to use them, it's just hard to notice that you're using them. You got some hula hoop action going on, you got some basic hip articulation. You can do the splits, but Beachcomber must rest his forearms upon his own leg wheels while doing so. Thighs can swivel and knees can bend. It's a delightful 90-degree cut. You can open the door to get a bit more room if you want, but then you have to clatter it past all this, and I don't want to, because all of that moves with the ankle tilt in a way that somehow works, also as like a heel support. It obviously works just because it's a bunch of mass that's locked in place, but it really looks a lot more chaotic than it feels, because he stands happily. Beachcomber's basically posable, averagely posable, unremarkably posable, but inoffensively posable as well. Beachcomber's conversion opens with its coolest step, a simple spinal extension to provide the alt mode with enough chassis length to properly exist. I don't mean to say the rest of the transformation is a slog, it's just not as cool as that moment. Everything goes where you would expect, and unfortunately there's a non-zero amount of fiddling to align some small tabs and pegs. Not enough for me to call it the biblical finicky, but I have to pause and think when I flip the legs over, and sometimes I don't want to. Regardless, weapon storage is also the formation of the front bumper as a finishing step, and now I am much closer to using that particular phrase a few more times. As a dune buggy, Beachcomber is fine. I like the silhouette, I like the width and flatness, the gaps in the floor around the seats are kind of scary, and I wish the blue nylon wedge up front had made a more decisive choice as to whether or not it contains any windshield content. Something I learned literally this week is that the bumper gun has a very subtle circular divot between its handle peg and the mush in front of it, which allows it to clip onto any section of the alt mode's roll bar in a strange throwback to the Reveal the Shield clip-on system. The hand feel is surprisingly solid, though I also haven't looked very deeply into whether or not any bumper guns have broken over the last 2 years from rapid and constant clippage. There are also 5mm ports, which means the parakeet can hang out near the rear section. This is also where I will go on to share how my own Paradise parakeet spends most of its life, in an acid-free archival zip bag wedged safely within the roll bar area so I don't lose it, because there have been increasing reports in 2026 of Beachcomber's rubber-like PVC tires, and by proxy his parakeet, causing plasticizer seepage incidents, most commonly eating paint off of other toys if kept in long-term contact. Originally an anticipated feature from the figure's previews, Beachcomber has separate tires with a great traction-inducing sculpt and an endearing micrometer of squish. However, these are neither rubber nor silicone, but instead appear to be a specialized PVC mix that, very sadly, has not escaped the imprecise fate of plasticizer seepage, wherein excess oils can seep into neighboring ABS or factory-painted surfaces and structurally degrade them on a chemical level. And it's a shame that plasticizer seepage is the most recent reason why folks have been thinking of Legacy Evolution Beachcomber, because his is an otherwise positive story of solved scarcity. The actual toy is not mind-boggling to me, being an absolutely adequate modern minibot who satisfyingly stands alongside toys that are his equal and a few that are far more interesting. So it is fantastic that a legendarily rare Generations Deluxe got full case reissue treatment just 2 years later, because paying massive markups for this would invite catastrophic ennui as soon as the funds transfer. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and many specific thanks to Sam Faceforward, my West Coast buddy who hooked me up with the reissued blue buggy back in December of last year. More pressingly, I've been keeping my own tire seepage foursome in individual archival bag containment for the time being, but whenever I get around to treating them, maybe I'll make a video as I go?